Good morning, Edge Kids. How are you all guys doing today? Are you doing good? I'm so glad to see you all again this week. I don't know about you, but I feel like this summer is flying by. Probably because we've been so focused. Am I right? Do you guys remember what we've been focusing on this summer? Yes, faith. Faith is trusting in what you can't see because of what you can see. We've had a lot of experience this summer focusing on what we can see. Now, let's put some of that vision to the test with a fun trivia game. I am going to put up a picture on the screen that shows the answer to each trivia question. But it won't be that easy because the photo will be blurry. You'll have to use what you can see from the blurry photo, plus what you learned from my clues to figure it out. Are you guys ready? Let's get started. In 1968, a scientist was trying to make a super strong, sticky-like glue adhesive when he failed. What did his failed invention lead to? If you think you know, from this blurry picture, shout it out. Let's see if you got it right. Sticky notes. The scientist failed at making a super strong glue or adhesive, but instead he made a really weak one that easily peeled off. And just like that, sticky notes were invented. Let's look at the next one. Here's your clue. An engineer in the Navy was trying to design a meter that could measure the power on battleships. He used springs, and one of the springs fell to the ground and kept bouncing from place to place. That led to the creation of this famous toy. If you think you know, shout it out. Let's see if you got it right. A slinky! The engineer created it totally by accident, and it became one of the most popular toys ever. Okay, let's do one more. Here's your clue. During World War II, an engineer was trying to create a rubber substance out of a material called silicone. Silicone was widely available, and the government needed a lot of rubber for things like airplane tires and boots for soldiers. While the engineer was experimenting, he added an acid to the silicone. It didn't create rubber, but instead it made a gooey mess and bounced. Any idea what this engineer accidentally made? Shout it out if you know. Let's see the picture in focus. Silly putty. The engineer didn't make rubber, but he did make a really fun toy. Well guys, that's all of the pictures I have for you. Thanks for playing this fun game with me. I can't wait to see you guys next week again, but first let's go dance. Bye.
Sometimes the road ahead can be so rough. You are the reason why I don't give up. 'Cause even when it's hard to see, I still believe. So I'm gonna trust your love.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now, for an amazing story, inspired by the book of Acts, chapters 27 and 28.
Paul faced many difficult days because he taught so boldly about Jesus. He was beaten, made fun of, thrown into jail, and run out of town. At last, in Jerusalem, Paul was arrested by Roman soldiers after a mob tried to kill him.
He speaks against our law!
Get rid of that guy!
Paul paced in his prison cell. The Lord stood next to him.
Be brave. You have told people about me in Jerusalem. You must do the same in Rome.
Because a group of Jews were plotting to kill him, Paul was taken to the governor in Caesarea. From there, he was ordered to Rome to stand trial before Caesar. Then, he was handed off to a Roman commander for the sea journey.
I am Julius of the Imperial Guard. I am very imperious, but also a reasonable human being.
Glad to hear it.
Julius allowed Paul to visit with friends as they stopped at the port city of Sidon. From there, they sailed around Cyprus, transferred to a ship from Egypt, carrying grain to Italy. The ship fought against the wind for many days until they arrived in a town on the island of Crete called Fair Havens. It was already well into October, a risky time for sea travel.
Men, I can see that our trip is going to be dangerous. The ship will be lost, and our own lives will be in danger.
A reasonable concern.
The pilot and ship's owner wanted to reach a better harbor for the winter.
Pish posh. We can make it to Phoenix.
Well,
Feel that? Gentle southerly breeze. Perfection.
we leave at once.
Anchors away!
But very soon, the gentle breeze transformed. Within a short time, the wind beat against the ship with the strength of a hurricane. The pilot gave up fighting the gale.
Hoist the lifeboat! Secure ropes around the bow! Jettison the cargo!
In the midst of the chaos, the Lord sent an angel to Paul. The next morning, Paul withstood the storm to encourage the crew and passengers. 276 people.
First, not to say I told you so, but I told you so. Second, not a problem. Last night an angel from God told me, do not be afraid, Paul. You must go on trial in front of Caesar. God has shown his grace by sparing the lives of all those sailing with you. But we must run the ship onto an island.
On the 14th night of the storm, the sailors realized they were nearing land.
The water's only 90 feet deep here.
Drop the anchor!
The crew was so afraid of crashing against the rocks that they lowered the lifeboats, planning to escape and leave the passengers.
Julius, these men must stay with the ship. If they don't, you can't be saved.
A reasonable request. Cut the ropes.
The soldiers cut the ropes so the crew could not escape. Just before dawn, Paul gathered everyone on board, shouting above the wind.
Not a problem. None of you will lose a single hair from your head. Now, I'm asking you to eat so you can live.
Paul took bread and thanked God. He then broke the bread and ate it. Everyone was filled with hope while they had some food to eat as the gray morning dawned.
There's the beach! Lift the anchors and we'll run her aground!
But as the pilot steered desperately for shore, the ship hit a sandbar and began to break into pieces. The soldiers were planning to kill Paul and the other prisoners to keep them from swimming to freedom.
Stop! Don't hurt them. Paul must live. Everyone overboard. Swim to land or grab a piece of the wreckage.
Miraculously, everyone made it to shore, just as God had promised.
Welcome to Malta.
The people of Malta were unusually kind as they built a fire to welcome this large group of wet and stranded visitors.
I'll fetch some more firewood.
Paul tossed sticks into the fire. Then, a deadly snake slithered out and sunk his teeth into Paul's hand.
This man must be a murderer. The gods won't let him live.
Not a problem. Totally fine.
Paul simply shook the snake into the fire. When the people saw he was unharmed, they decided he was a god. Publius, a chief official, welcomed Paul and the others into his home.
Take whatever you need.
Paul discovered that Publius' father was very sick, so he prayed.
Jesus, please, heal this man.
Publius' father was made well. All the sick people on the island flocked to see Paul, and they too were healed. Paul had so much respect on Malta that when it was time to leave, the people of Malta gave him all the supplies they needed.
Bon voyage!
At long last, Paul neared Rome. The believers had heard he was on his way and traveled to meet him.
Welcome to Rome.
I thank God for you all.
In Rome, Paul was allowed to live in his own home, under guard. For 2 years, he welcomed anyone who came to see him. He told Jews and Gentiles alike the good news of Jesus, just as God promised he would.
Good morning, Edge kids. I miss you guys. It's still now been 2 weeks without you when we're in person. I just want to be back in this room, seeing you and hugging you. But if you noticed, Chase is still being such a meanie. He won't let me hug anybody. So just pray for me. It hurts me a lot. But guess what? When I am able to hug you, I'm giving you a big hug. I can't wait. So guys, Paul understood that Jesus is the one who God's big story is all about. He understood that no matter what problems he faced, they were worth it for him to share about Jesus because Jesus is the Savior God promised. He's the one who makes it possible for us to have a relationship with God that lasts for how long? Forever. And even though Paul had to face a lot of trouble in his life, he was confident that God was with him. He was determined to continue to do what God had called him to do, which was what? Share the good news about Jesus. Because Paul trusted God, he could face his problems head on without worry. And just like Paul, guys, we will face problems too. It's just part of life. But when we face those problems, we can believe that God will get us through them. We can trust God and remember that he is with us. Remember, knowing Jesus changes the way you see your problems. When you are worried about the test to study for, you can pray and ask God to help you remember what you've learned. That can give you the confidence you need to do your best on the test. Or if you're going to a new overnight camp or you're about to start a new school and you're worried because you won't know anyone there, you can remember that God has promised that he is always with you. Knowing Jesus changes the way you see your problems. Can you guys say that with me? Knowing Jesus changes the way you see your problems. That's awesome. God can help you see your problems as new opportunities. I challenge you to talk more about this week. Ask your parents or reach out to one of us. So guys, go on this week. Take these challenges as opportunities to grow and trust in God because guess what? He's always there. I love you. God bless.
Hey guys, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Today we are going to do a super cool science activity. So like a little experiment today that I have for you guys. So it involves a couple things. First off, the most important one, if you have shaving cream, we're going to use that today. And then we are going to be using food coloring and then just simple water. So you need a cup or a jar or something to put the water in. Make sure it's cold water. That will work best for what we're gonna do. So as you can see, my food coloring, I have little Dixie cups that I put some water in and then I added some food coloring. So that's what these are. And then I have little pipettes that we're gonna use for like dropping. If you don't have these at home though, you can use like a spoon or like a little measuring spoon that will work just as well. So to get started, I have my cup of cold water. I filled it up pretty much to the top, but I left a little space for our shaving cream, because this is what we're gonna do. We are going to put the shaving cream right on top of the water to essentially, we're going to make a cloud. So this is our little cloud, the shaving cream, and then the water underneath is going to help us see the food coloring when it goes through the cloud. So we are basically learning how rain works. So I'm gonna show you guys how that works in a rainbow way so we can see it and the cool effects of it. So after you put your shaving cream on top of your water, you're gonna take your 4 little cups of food coloring, or 6 or 7, how many colors you want. I picked 4 today. And I'm gonna take a pipette and just take my food coloring and my water mixture, put it in my pipette, and then you simply just drop it on the top of your shaving cream. And the trick is you have to do this quite a bit to saturate the shaving cream before you can start seeing the rain effect down below. It's not quite coming through yet, so I'm gonna keep going, keep getting it wet. And so this is basically doing the same thing that a rain cloud would do. So it's absorbing all the moisture up until it's at max capacity, and then it's going to start releasing the colors. Oh, you can see the red a little bit. So it's gonna start releasing the colors, kind of like how a rain cloud releases raindrops. So this way you can just see it because the colors are so cool coming through. And once it's saturated a ton, it will start mixing all the colors together to form like a darker color on the inside. Yeah, let's just look at that. That's so neat. See those colors coming through? And if you keep going, like more and more colors will go through, and as you let it sit, the colors will drop through as well. I would be interested to see if you guys want to use like a bigger container, maybe like a bowl if you have a lot of shaving cream, or like a jar, so maybe you could see it a little bit better. I just chose this so I could show you guys in a little experiment way. But I think it would be so cool on like a bigger scale. That's up to you guys to choose though. So this is our rain cloud experiment. I think it looks pretty sweet. Thanks for joining us, guys. I hope you enjoyed this experiment, and I would love to see videos or pictures of what your rain clouds look like. And can't wait to see you next time. Bye, guys.